Hello, so I recently sculpted this elephant and I thought I'd do a quick rundown of how I made it and my process. It generally follows my usual sculpting process, so you can look at my tutorials on that and my mini courses on that, and do check out gabbit.co.uk for lots of tutorials going from beginners to advanced. Now this is all time-lapsed and I don't go into any major detail of the process. I do have lots of separate tutorials and I'll try and link to those in the description and with cards in the corner when I mention something that might be a bit complicated. So I started with a basic shape. I already had that from my tutorial, how to make a low poly animal, which is probably my most successful tutorial. So this is kind of stage 2, how to make a high poly animal. So you may be able to see that I've started with a multi-resolution modifier. That was the wrong technique. And I thought I'd try it out and see how I go, but it really didn't work, and I quickly changed over to the Dyne Topo. You have to have a really detailed point to work from to go to the multi-resolution modifier. I'll have a tutorial about that coming up pretty shortly, so I'll have a link with a card. So as always with sculpting, get the basic shapes and then detail later. So you'll probably be using the grab brush a lot at the start and the sculpt draw brush, and for more awkward shapes you're going to have to use booleans and cut things out. With things like tusks, it's actually really awkward to get them in the right shape, so I cut that out with a boolean modifier, built the tusk, added it in, and I kept it as a separate object. This is a good idea because you can hide it and keep it out of the way when you're sculpting other pieces, and it won't take up so much processing power. And to break the tusk on the elephant's right hand side, I used the boolean modifier again. Lots of these sculpting techniques I've learnt over time from the internet. CG Cookie, Jan Sculpts has taught me quite a few things, and Zacharias Reinhardt has done some great work as well. So all those tutorials are fantastic for getting the techniques. After that, it's a good idea to look at speed sculpts such as this and just keep practicing with your artwork. Sculpt January is a good one to improve your skills and to develop. So I'm still getting the basic shape here, pulling around with the grab tool on a relatively low Dyne Topo detail. I'm using relative detail, so when I zoom in it will add more detail. I do actually like to use constant detail as well, but in this case I'm using relative detail. I chop and change between the two. So it's about this point where I decide to flood fill my mesh and turn off Dyne Topo so I can use some detailed sculpting brushes. I'll link to a card in the corner here about how you can set up your sculpting brushes. I'll also do a tutorial about how you can flood fill with a constant detail, and that will come shortly. When you're on the detailed work, it's a good idea to go to the matte cap so you can see the detail, and it makes your shape and object seem more vivid, gives them a bit more contrast as well. And I probably should have gone to a higher detail here. I'm always a bit concerned that my computer can't quite handle it. I don't have an amazing computer, I've got a decent computer, so I tend to stick to low detail, which I think does affect my sculpts in some way. All the detail brushes that I'm using I always have on quite a low strength, and I use lots of different brushes as a basis and as a start, and then go in and usually paint over them in some way. Otherwise it can look really uniform. So I put down a base with the sculpt brushes, like these cuts and scrapes that elephant skins have, and then I'm going in with a fine detailed brush and cutting in further, looking at lots of reference images while I'm doing this. It's sometimes a good idea to change your matte caps as well, see what it looks like under different lighting conditions. So at this point I've started the retopology. I've got a detailed tutorial on how to set up for retopology, and I'll put that in a card in the corner. Now you can do this earlier if you're happy with the shape and then use a multi-resolution modifier, but you don't have to. The multi-resolution modifiers are really good when it comes to the detailed brushwork though, so you're sculpting brushes and texture brushes. I'm not the most skilled at retopology, and it takes me a while to figure out where things should go, but generally you try and follow edges with a line of planes. So you can see around the eye there's a circle of planes, and then maybe around the mouth there's a line of planes, so you try and line up with the lines of your shapes and models. Good topology is very important. It's really helpful for modeling because you can add loop cuts really easily. It's good for animation. Things will bend and crease in the correct ways. And of course it's good for your computer and the processing power. There's a fair bit of debate as to how well you should retopologize things. These days computers are faster, and therefore you can get away with more polys, and therefore a good understanding of topology is okay, and you don't have to go to town and really understand sort of muscular systems and so forth, because you can get away with lots of polys. Whereas in the past, where you had low polys, you had to be really clever with your topology. I think it's generally good to have a good understanding of all these different skills and maybe specialize in one. But it's important to know the processes, so if you're working in a certain part of the pipeline and you're a specialist, you understand the other processes and the difficulties they might have with your model. I still have lots of problems with points where you get a triangle and you think, what am I going to do here? And you're trying to make it into lots of quads. Triangles are a pain because whenever you try and put a loop cut in, it doesn't follow the flow of your model. But you can put triangles in, they're not like the devil or something. They're just not great topology. So I'm pretty much there. For once I've gone for a fairly high poly model. It's about 14,000 faces in the end. And I've tried not to worry about that too much because I wanted a nice portfolio piece that kind of showed off what I could do, or what I feel I can do anyway. So I've subdivided it, and now I'm marking the seams. I keep the mirror modifier on whilst marking the seams so it will appear on both sides, and then just before unwrapping, apply the mirror. Also, you can probably see I've got live wrap ticked. That means I can unwrap as I'm going along, and it's kind of easy to spot where you may have missed the seam. Once I've unwrapped, then I go on to baking. I tend to use Blender Render for this, but I've had rumours that they're getting rid of Blender Render. I do think it's slightly better for baking, but I'm trying to go across to Cycles now. There are external programs you can use, but I do struggle to get those to work. So for one of the tusks I was able to just use the multi-resolution modifier from the base mesh that I had and sculpt on top of that. It makes it slightly easier for baking. The other one I had to retopologize and then bake from there. At this point I just wanted to see what it looked like, so I quickly put all the materials onto the mesh. Bit of tidying up to do. I did quickly clean up my normal map as well by painting on it, which is a bit naughty. But it did work, so it was a quicker way of doing it rather than rebaking. And there's the halfway point without any painting. So at this point you can see me working on the tusk. I wanted to give the impression of a slightly damaged tusk. And also they have sort of ridges and ribs going down the tusk along the grain, so I modelled those as well, just using the crease brush as a pinch and crease, and a kind of noise brush but on a really low setting just to give it a bit of bumpiness. You could paint some of these finer details on, but I prefer to do it on the normal map. I did a detailed flood fill for my Dyne Topo tusk and then turned off the Dyne Topo so that I could use the other brush. So again, using these texture brushes. They don't work with Dyne Topo, so you do have to turn the Dyne Topo off. Once I'd finished all that, I did bake out some normal maps again for these, cavity maps and so on, my usual workflow. But this time I unwrapped them and made sure that their unwrap was in a location on the normal maps for the elephant. So although they're separate objects, they share the same maps. That can speed up rendering in your game engine. Now you can see me starting the paint of the elephant. So I've got my colour plugged into a mix shader that my ambient occlusion and cavity are also sharing. So I'm just going over with a base colour, highlighting certain sections, testing out different colours, getting a colour palette that I like, always paying close attention to your reference images. Also I changed to a texture mask, not a texture but a texture mask, so that's what your brush end looks like in a sense. I use lots of different texture brushes or texture masks to get different sort of effects. I was reasonably happy with the elephant before this because elephants are generally grey, so the cavity mask and the ambient occlusion were doing a good job. But then looking closer at my reference images, I noticed there were different colorations throughout the skin of an elephant. So after studying those a bit, I decided to do a paint job. I slowly build up my colour palette. Once you've got a colour you like, you can just press the plus button and that will add it to your colour palette. Or you can choose a colour on your model and press S and left click and that will add it to your colour palette as well. I'm kind of painting in the creases in places as well where they're really fine. I could paint these on as a bump map or something similar, but I don't think it's really necessary. They're so finer details that you can just paint them on. But everything else that's bumpy I like to put on in the normal map in the sculpt. Now I could have modelled the eyes as a separate object, but they are so small on the model that I decided just to keep them in the sculpt and paint them in. I like to paint in a tiny bit of ambient occlusion as well. Like I said, the normal map can do a lot of this and your ambient occlusion and cavity, but you can just go that extra bit if you paint it in as well. I spent a fair bit of time on the whole model, good few hours, over several days. Again, I really wanted something I was proud of to put in my portfolio. I'm going to start doing a few tutorials on how to get work in the 3D industry and work as a freelancer, as I'm starting to look for more jobs in the area, and the one thing that's the most important is your portfolio, of course. Now I did do a very basic rig just so I could pose it. There's nothing complex about it. In fact, I think I used the MetaRig plugin, Rigify, and used the animal mesh and just modified that slightly just so I could pose it and put it in an interesting position. And I also painted a sort of muddy base for it to stand on just so it had something to anchor it to the ground. So there you can see the final model. I hope you enjoyed the process. Do comment and let me know what you think. If you have any thoughts or ways I could improve my workflow or any items that I should have done better or worked harder on, then let me know. Thanks for watching.